Hey there, it's Olivia-Savannah here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm here to tell you all about our 2023 TBR challenge. So I am ready to get competitive and I'm going to be challenging Hannah to reduce our TBRs next year. So this challenge runs from January 1st to December 31st, 2023, and me and Hannah are racing against each other to see who can reduce our physical TBR by the most books. So here is what we are going to do, and here are our rules. We both start with 0, so it doesn't actually matter how big our physical TBRs. It's not about who has the smallest one at the end, it's about who reduces it by the most books. And there are different ways for you to add and subtract points, and the one with the least points at the end is the winner. The goal is to have as few points as possible, and numbers can go into the negative figure, seeing as we start with 0. It's only focused on our physical TBR, and you reduce a book from your TBR by either unhauling from your TBR, DNFing, and then consequently unhauling from your physical TBR, or reading a book. Anytime you do either of those three things, you get -1 point. However, if you haul in a book to your TBR, you get +1 point. The exception is that birthday gifts and Christmas gifts do not count, so that we do not choose to overgift our partner. And we can also not send each other books that we have not previously agreed upon sending them. So I cannot just buy a lot of books and send them all to Hannah to sabotage her TBR. I can only send her a book if she has said, yes, I will take it. So if I unhaul books and I show the stack to Hannah and she takes one of them and says, yes, I want that one, I've successfully kind of sabotaged her, but she's also kind of done it to herself. So that is a way of growing your other person's TBR, but mostly the best thing that you can do to win this TBR challenge is read and unhaul books from your own TBR without hauling them in, which is going to be a whole load of fun. We are both very organizational people, so we have a Google spreadsheet doc that we're working from, so I can always see what her numbers are at and she can see what my numbers are at, so that we can track how the other person is doing, if we want to kind of up our game or down our game. And it's going to be fun to just check in probably around halfway through the year and at the end and see who has won the challenge. There are definitely going to be some advantages and disadvantages. I'm going to have the advantage of the fact that I'm on a book buying ban until at least July, maybe longer if I take it on further, which means I should not be hauling as much as Hannah might be. But also I do read slower than Hannah does. Hannah does read faster than me. We're going to see how this goes. It's going to be fun. It's just a fun little way of us both reducing our TBRs that simultaneously encourages each other, puts our friendship under strain, and is a good time. We're both very competitive people, but also very nice people, so it's a very interesting mix. But without further ado, I'm going to invite Hannah to kind of talk about her strategies or what she has planned.
Hello, I'm Hannah from Nelle, and I am here to say fond farewell to the blossoming friendship that Olivia and I had, because I am not a nice person when I'm competitive, and I fully intend to beat Olivia, and I will fight dirty if I have to. She has plays and poetry and loads of really great short reads, and I have spite. So I will do everything in my power to read as many books on my TBR and clear as much of my TBR as possible. So Olivia said in her little clip for me, may the best booktuber win. I'm saying may the baddest booktuber win.
Okay, so I thought this would be a very short video, so I thought it'd be very nice here to just talk a bit more about my TBR. So we're going to segue into past Olivia-Savannah, and she is going to do the TBR tag, which will do a very good job of setting the scene for this challenge that will start on January 1st. If you want to hear about our progress or just hear about the competition some more and the challenge, let me know which ways you want to see that morph into videos or Instagram content in the description box down below. But without further ado, past Olivia-Savannah, take it away. As many of you know, I'm trying my best to work through my TBR, and I have a whole system. I'm on a buying ban for a year, but I wanted to do the TBR tag because Hannah from Nelle tagged me, so it felt very in season as a little bit of a foresight into our situations before our challenge begins. So let's get to the questions. The first question is, how do you organize your TBR? And I am an Excel spreadsheet person. I've got an Excel spreadsheet called Olivia-Savannah's personal library, because it is that library size. and I have my unread TBR listed from oldest book to newest book. So the oldest books are at the top and the newest ones are at the bottom, and I also have one for my ebook library, oldest to newest. Is your TBR mostly print or ebook? Overwhelmingly so, it's mostly print, and that's because print is my format of reading. I prefer to read physical books over audiobooks and ebooks. Although I did used to have a lot of ebooks, I did a massive unhaul and clean out of the ones on my Kindle that I don't want to read, and I don't typically buy ebooks anymore. It's only if I get, very rarely, ebook review copies, or if they're free. So I don't really have that big of an ebook TBR anymore, and I'm happy with that, just the way it is, because I so very rarely read from it. So it makes sense that my physical book TBR is the biggest TBR I have. How do you determine which book on your TBR you're going to read next? I am a mood reader, so I go entirely by mood, but I do have a bit of a system, and that system is to read one book of choice from my TBR and then one book that is a review copy book. And I try to do it that way so that I'm reading books that I've sent for review and trying to fulfill those obligations, but then also reading things that I just chose and picked up myself and get an equal balance. But even within that, it's mood reading. I've got a load of books that I was sent for review and I can just pick whichever one and then pick whichever one from my TBR. I am trying to be a bit more intentional, which means throughout the year I've been trying to read the 10 oldest books on my TBR, and I do try to mix up if I'm choosing something that's old from my TBR or something that's new. But again, there's no hard and fast system to that. I'm kind of just doing it based on my mood and my feelings. Which book has been on your TBR the longest? So the book that has been on my TBR the longest as of when I'm filming this is World War Z by Max Brooks. I've only got 2 left from the 2020 batch of oldest books on my TBR, and that is the second to last one to go, and I'm currently reading it. I'm 44 pages in and I like it so far. So hopefully it will not be the oldest book on my TBR for too much longer. This one I got a very long time ago, I can tell because it's got my Shakespeare & Co stamp on it, which means it must have been from my it must have been from my sister's second year of uni. So I must have been about 18, 17, somewhere there I think, and I got it. That's like 5 years ago. What is the most recent addition to my TBR? Good question. So as of when I'm filming this again, I just got in a copy of Locks by Ashleigh Nugent. I actually got this book yesterday at the Picador New Voices book event where they talk about their debut authors that are coming up, and this one is coming out on the 22nd of June 2023, so I've got plenty of time to read it. And it's about a boy who is black. He's from Liverpool, and he's got a Jamaican black father and a white Scottish mother, and he's always been battling with that identity. He's been like profiled and over-policed by the police because he's black, and he decides he's going to go into Jamaica and connect to the black side of his heritage, just discover himself as a black boy in a way that he's never been able to before. But he ends up spending his 17th birthday in a juvenile prison, and he is called a white boy over in Jamaica. So it's about the ways in which identity is not as clear-cut as you think it could be, and how you can discover who you are outside of the social construct around race. What is a book you bought specifically for the cover? I'm not really a cover buyer. I've talked about this before. If I'm going to add a book to my TBR, it's because it actually sounds good. But I can tell you a book on my TBR that has a beautiful cover, and I will go with Monstress volume, I think it's 5. That is the next one I need to read, which is on my TBR. And I'm choosing this one because I know the cover is gorgeous, because all of the artwork in Monstress is absolutely gorgeous and amazing, and some of the most beautiful that I've seen in a graphic novel. So the next question is, what is an unpublished book that will be on your TBR? And I'm not too good with keeping up with the books that are coming out that I need to add to my TBR, but I have a proof here of a book that comes out next year, so technically it is unpublished and it's on my TBR, so I'm going to go with that. And that is Not Alone by Sarah K. Jackson, and this is a book that's a sci-fi dystopian where the air outside can kill you. So there's a mother and a son who is living in the safety of their own home. They haven't ventured out for a very long time, but the mum is feeling ill, and a survivor shows up at her door for the first time, and it's about how she knows she needs to step out of her safety bubble, and they need to find something or somewhere that they could go where they can feel safe, where her son might be able to have a future even if she might not be in it. And so this one comes out April 2023. It's unpublished and it's what I'm looking forward to, and it's on my TBR. What is a book on your TBR that everyone has read but you? And I feel like I did a very good job of reading some of those books this month in October, so now I'm going to struggle to think of one. I haven't prepared any answers. There are lots and lots of popular books on my TBR. Maybe I should go for a classic, because I feel like classics are one where lots of people have read them and I might still not have read it myself. Let me think about my classics. Oh, The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. Everybody seems to have read that. All of the Gothic lovers, all of the monster classic lovers, they've all read The Turn of the Screw, and I know some people have read it in school, and I'm so intrigued and I really want to get to it, and I just keep meaning to get around to it, and then my mood changes or something comes up and I need to read something. So I really want to get to The Turn of the Screw very soon, but that is one I feel like a lot of people have read and I haven't read, especially if they are into classic fiction. What is a book on your TBR that everyone has recommended to you in particular? Again, I feel like I just read a book that kept getting recommended to me, which was Mexican Gothic, because it is everything that I tend to enjoy. Oh, what is another one? You know what? I'm gonna go for one that in particular my sisters have recommended to me, and anybody who has read it and knows me has recommended to me, and that is Do You Dream of Terra 2 by Temi. This is an Afrofuturist sci-fi book that has to do with going to space and like starting another civilization and a project and plan to do that. I love Afrofuturism, I love sci-fi, I also especially love space sci-fi. So everybody who's read that, especially my sisters, have really been on my case to read it, and they know I'm gonna love it. So I think that is one that if you've read it, they've specifically recommended it to me and say that I really need to get to it. A book on your TBR that you are dying to read. So Greywaren by Maggie Stiefvater is in my possession. It's on my TBR and I'm so excited to read it. I'm also terrified of reading it. I'm actually hoping that someone will read it and spoil me for just this one small element of the story, because if it happens and I'm not prepared for it, I think I would struggle. It's not even a content warning or anything, it's just a personal preference, so I'm just waiting for someone else to read it so I can read it afterwards. But yes, I'm very excited for Greywaren by Maggie Stiefvater. I'm gonna read it and then I'm gonna be so sad that the series is over, but I have talked about that book enough. So what is the next question? A book on your TBR that you have no intention of reading, and I do not have those. If there is a book on my TBR, I fully intend to read it. I am a fan of unhauling. If I don't intend to read it anymore, it gets knocked off of my TBR pretty fast, and I can't think of any book on my TBR right now that I actively don't want to read. So I don't really have an answer for this question. I think I can tell you which one will take me the longest to get around to reading, and that is A Darkness at Your Door or something like that, and it's the third book in a series. I don't own the first two books. I do want to read it, and I got this one for free, so I just kept it on my shelf, and it's going to take me a long time to get to it because I'm on a buying ban and I need to get the first two books first. And then the last question is, how many books do you have on your TBR shelf? And I do not know. I count once a year, and I count in July, or is it June? One of the J months I count, and the last time I counted I had 444 unread books, but of course it's been a couple of months since then. I hope I have fewer. I suspect I have more, despite the fact that I started my buying ban when I counted. But we shall see where I'm at next year. And there you have it. That is the TBR tag. Please let me know in the comment section down below what is one book on your TBR that you are so excited and cannot wait to read. Give this video a thumbs up. Oh, I need to tag people. I so rarely do tags. I'm going to tag... Oh, it's hard to know who's done this or not, but I'm going to tag Victoria from What Victoria Read. I'm going to tag Emma from Drinking by My Shelf. I'm going to tag Shannon from That's So Po. And I'm also going to tag Nelle from Book Hunt. Okay, now we can go on. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. And don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior!